House of Representatives probes Nigeria's daily consumption of premium motor spirit. Broadcast professionals make case for establishment of Society of Nigerian Broadcasters. And House leader speaks on the progress of the 9th House 3 years on. Hello and welcome. The House of Representatives might be on recess, well, from plenary that is. But in commemoration of the 3rd anniversary of the 9th House, you and your reps engaged House leader Alhassan Doguwa on the trajectory of the House, among other issues. I'm Victor, so thanks for joining me. Leadership of the House of Representatives has described as unacceptable the nonchalant attitude of some heads of government agencies towards appearing at investigative hearings, especially in relation to the economy. National Assembly correspondent Labiale reports that it was during an investigative hearing to ascertain the actual daily consumption of premium motor spirit in Nigeria.
The lingering fuel scarcity and controversy surrounding huge sums paid by the federal government as subsidy are some of the issues that necessitated this engagement between the House of Representatives on the one hand and key stakeholders on the other. Most heads of government agencies were absent, while others sent representatives to the hearing.
Organizations that are saddled with the responsibility of managing a critical assignment like the distribution and accounting for the distributed and sold PMS in this country will be reluctant to come here to do their duties. The topic for this investigation is a very controversial issue. Nigerians don't know how much fuel we are consuming that warrants the payment of such humongous amounts.
The House, in its wisdom, has mandated this ad hoc committee not to restrict its investigation to only the state actors, but also to other critical stakeholders such as the experts, unions, trade associations, and members of the general public.
The committee wants to know the details of daily consumption volume of PMS in Nigeria.
Consumption means what is dispensed at the nozzle. How do you plus or minus those products that are diverted? How do you segment, for instance, without road safety and MBS collaboration, how many vehicles, for instance, do we even have in Nigeria that is PMS powered?
The agencies were asked to submit more documents as the committee stresses that deployment of technology in the value chain may be the best option to address the matter.
A legislative framework that will promote professional ethics of broadcasting in Nigeria has gained the support of key players in the industry, including the Nigerian Television Authority. Mobolaji Moribin reports that this was at a one-day public hearing on a bill to establish the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters, which seeks to regulate and conduct the practice of broadcasting in Nigeria in line with global best practices.
The excitement in this hall speaks volume. The faces and voices in attendance are the familiar ones on the television screens and the radio airwaves. Even those working behind the scene are here. A bill to provide for the regulation and conduct of the practice of broadcasting in Nigeria, changing it from being an all-comers affair, is the reason for their excitement.
There is a need to have those who regulate broadcasters as broadcasters. And that is the best form of regulation.
Our prayers here is for the existence and establishment of Society of Nigerian Broadcasters. It should be granted.
It will lead to the collaboration with training institutions for knowledge acquisition.
We need a body that will regulate and oversee the professional conduct of broadcasters, just as we have in other professions.
The Commission is already empowered by NBC Act to establish a broadcast institute. Therefore, we submit this to your consideration.
As it stands, the House of Representatives is convinced that the bill will become a reality.
We should jealously guide our profession to guide against all the fake one among us, the crack among us. That is the only way we can protect this industry.
This House has made conscientious efforts in ensuring it enables laws that will not only guarantee the protection of lives and properties of Nigerians, but will also impact positively on their socioeconomic well-being.
The proposed legislation, when passed, seeks to enthrone best practices in the nation's broadcasting ecosystem.
And the 9th House of Representatives is now in the final lap of its term. And what a time to engage House Leader Alhassan Doguwa on several issues, its high points, perceived weaknesses, and plans for the remainder of its tenure.
The chief presiding officer, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is one that was not only elected as Speaker at the time he wanted, no, is somebody who has had a lot of experience as far as parliamentary business is concerned, legislative background, with a lot of what you can call cognate legislative experience. At a point when Femi Gbajabiamila became the Speaker of the House of Representatives, it's like he had all it takes to be the Speaker that will operate with a difference. So that number one setting, that number one platform that we have laid down on day one, that we have gotten the right person to take charge and steer the affairs of the House of Representatives, gave us a unique direction. It gave us a unique identity. So I want to tell you, it is on the basis of that experiences that now the Speaker and the House started to build on what one can call the unprecedented phase of the House of Representatives, which we have never had in the past. One, look at our relationship with the executive arm of government. It has always been mistaken. Always been mistaken. Democracy is not about fight. Democracy is not about war. Agreed, we have 3 different arms of governments, each one with specified duties and responsibilities as contained in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But it doesn't mean that we have 3 different governments. What we have is one government that is same, indivisible, united, and that must fight and work in same direction, common front. This we have achieved in the 9th House of Representatives with, of course, the dexterity and the capacity of our experienced Speaker, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. No fight. And we have not in any way petitioned or in any way compromised our traditional or conventional duties as a parliament in terms of oversight, in terms of budgeting and appropriation, in terms of provision of basic needs for the people that elected us into the parliament. What I'm trying to say is that we have achieved a seamless relationship with the executive arm of government, which in the end is producing the desired result for what you call developed democracy. Nigerians are good for it. The House members are also good for it. And the leadership is relating very well, amicably, not as in the past. Having served in various sessions of the National Assembly, right from 1992 till date, I have had the opportunity to work with several speakers. But this 9th House of Representatives stands out among all other sessions of the House of Representatives in terms of the number of bills we have been able to promulgate as laws. Notwithstanding the number of bills that were signed ultimately by Mr. President. That on one side. But at least we have produced, at least in every year, we have produced and enacted not less than 200 bills, including the appropriation bills and some of the executive bills, maybe from the presidency or from other agencies of government, establishment bills that were brought to us for review or updates. Like you just said, now the electoral offenses tribunal or something is an update of an existing law. The Electoral Act also, which we recently considered and concluded, were amendments that we took in it. So if you go by the level of our performance, the 9th House of Representatives stands out as the best in terms of capacity and the best in terms of result as far as legislation is concerned. This is something we must be proud of, and we must give the credit to our leadership, both in the Senate and in the House of Representatives under Femi Gbajabiamila. I was part of the team that went to Brazil on several engagements, and we found how members of the parliament were given opportunities by the executive arm of government to bring one or two things into the quantum of the budget, especially when it comes to infrastructure-based budget, facility-based budget, developmental issues that you can now take home to your constituents. And this thing happens even in the so-called developed nations. It happens in the UK. It happens also in the American parliament. It's not peculiar to Nigerian situation. So many people feel, oh, this is it's only Nigeria. You are legislators. No, you are not meant to execute projects. Yes, we are not meant to execute projects. That I agree. And even in the case of the constituency project component, which has been considered by the executive arm of government to the legislature, what we are simply doing is like we are going one step ahead to exercise our constitutional duty as representative of the people. We must have to take something back home. Is it water supply? Is it roads? Is it about hospitals? Is it about dilapidated schools in our constituency? Is it about employment? Or even create a package that we call empowerment program. Empower your people. Sometimes you have people who are farmers in your constituency and they have nothing to go about farming if you don't support them. Give them a little package of capital, start-up capital, give them some support with agricultural materials, insecticide, so that they can boost and really promote themselves in the area of agriculture. So this is one component of our duty that so many people misperceive, and in some cases the press also do not help the matter. A member is offered an opportunity to simply fill in a template that was designed either by the Ministry of Ministry of Water Resources or Federal Ministry of Education, as the case may be, to simply fill in locations. I need a block of classroom in, for instance, Burum community of Tudumada local government. I need, for instance, a block of classroom at Giginyu community of Nasarawa Federal Constituency. Or you may want to build perhaps a hospital, a clinic for the people of Rano in Kano State, South Senatorial District. You simply provide location in conjunction with the amount of money accorded to you in the budget. We don't do appropriation here. Sorry, we don't do procurement here. We don't award contracts. Sometimes projects of members can be procured, awarded, completed without a member anywhere knowing even who was the contractor.
A legislative tool that has not been deployed often in the House of Representatives is veto override, but it could come handy someday. So on legislative terms and tools, we got Chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Abubakar Flata, to explain it.
The Constitution, Section 58, has given the President power to, within 30 days of receipt of any bill from the National Assembly, to assent. If he is unable to assent to that particular bill, he will return such a bill to the House, indicating that he has declined assent to that particular bill. Under such circumstance, the National Assembly has three options. The first option for the National Assembly is to accept, they can accept the opinion of the President not to assent to that particular bill, and then they will leave things as it was. That bill is now rejected. That's the first option. The second option is for the National Assembly to look at the reasons advanced by Mr. President for not assenting to that particular bill. Such reasons can be modified and then sent. The bill will be resent. Okay, it will now go through it can be recommitted. Such a bill can be recommitted, and then all the observations made by the President can be taken care of. Then the bill will be passed again. then resent back to Mr. President for assent. If Mr. President has not given any reason at all, this House can still process the bill. The National Assembly can still process the bill, goes through recommittal, and then sent to the Committee of the Whole. And then after the approval of the Committee of the Whole, the bill is now sent back to Mr. President again for assent. If, however, the final option the National Assembly can take is to say, fine, we are not returning the bill to the President, we are now overriding his veto. And such powers have been guaranteed under Section 58, subsection 4 and 5. National Assembly now can now decide, the two houses can now decide to pass such a bill by 2/3 majority. Under such a situation, the assent of the President is no longer required, and then such a bill becomes law.
Still on the 3rd anniversary of the House of Representatives, you and your reps went to town to find out what legislative interventions the people would like to see in the last 1 year of the 9th House.
What they can do better is to put more effort by providing proactive legislation to control the security system. They give a new security architecture that will truly give way for a successful end to insecurity in the country.
I think the Night Assembly, they have talked issue of security, they have issue of the judiciary, but that issue of security, they must have to look into policing affair, because if you look at it, the police has been relegated from their own primary duties. Today, anywhere you see, like even the election coming now, you'll be seeing soldiers everywhere in the town, which is not supposed to be like that.
You know, you have to leave a legacy behind. I think they are working on this, one of the bills I just mentioned now, the Electoral Offences Tribunal. I think if they are able to, if they can wrap it up and then it's assented, so at least it will create, it will be like a landmark, just like the Electoral Act 2020 is like a landmark legislation. So it will be like a landmark legislation. And then the several other bills that are pending that will affect the social well-being of the people, I think they should just implement it and listen more to the people. You know, some of them may not be coming back. Listen more to the people, push the agenda of your people.
We are expecting some proactive legislations, like there are some bills that still have to do with social security. There are also bills that we expect to curb the security situation in the country, which everybody knows about. The security situation in the country is very, very deplorable. So we need proactive legislations. We need proactive legislations to curb these issues of kidnapping, banditry, and of course corruption too. These are some of the predominant issues in our polity.
The 9th National Assembly took time and great effort to craft amendments to Nigeria's electoral law, culminating in the Electoral Act 2022. But it does seem that there are still loopholes. There have been complaints in some quarters, particularly with regards to what some call wrongful substitution of candidates by political parties. Let's take a look at a classic example.
I was actually preparing to come back to the House of Reps. But when we had a meeting, I was advised to allow other people to, contest for reps, since by his special grace, I'm the first person within my federal constituency to have been re-elected since 1999. So they said, okay, other clans perhaps are also interested, and that I should go and run for Senate. So I went to do the Senate, and there were 4 of us, myself, Samuel Ibu, Chief Enrico, who has just been nominated Minister of the Federal Republic, Senator Nkechinwogo, who withdrew, a few days to the election. She withdrew in writing. And Chief Kesi Obaja, who could not make it due to ill health. So, we had the election, myself and Chief Enrico. At the end of the day, I won. And all the papers were given to me by the party. I filled the form EC9, which is particulars that contains the particulars of successful candidates. And on top of that, I was also given another form to fill, which contains the names of the 3 senatorial candidates from the state. And we submitted that. So just a day, I think on the 16th, suddenly, I was now told, in fact, by the paper they produced, that my name was now substituted with the name of someone who did not participate in the primary election at all. For this individual contested for gubernatorial, he was never in the primary election. The effect that this is having is now that individuals who freely voted for you and gave you their mandate freely to represent them because they've interacted with you, they've listened to you, they have seen your verifiable accomplishments. These individuals are now in a state of uncertainty. Who are we going to vote for? Who is going to represent us?
Interesting scenario. But what do the relevant laws say? We went to a legal practitioner, Kayode Ajulo, for answers.
The law that governs election, particularly Nigeria, is a common law, not equity. It is not the issue that you think of ways and caprice or we don't really know, we use convention. It is basically law. That is, it is written down. It is as stipulated by the law. And if we should talk about the law here, there's about 2 or 3 laws that governs what the question you ask. First, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, then the electoral law, which is the extant law now of 2022. Then we have the party, that's the INEC guidelines and regulation. Now, when it comes to nomination of political party, it's so clear that it can be in 3 ways: either direct election, indirect election, or consensus. And and for you to get that consensus or direct election, there must be primaries. Primaries here, the law is stipulated that the notice first has to be given to the INEC, because INEC has a role to play, the role of an empire, not only of an empire, of an adjudicator, not only of an adjudicator, to watch like a referee or to be like an observer. And they are not just only observing, there must be a report. And the essence of the notice, for everybody to have that notice that this primary is going to take place, before that time, those who are interested in that position would have picked the form. Having picked the form, then the list of those that will take part in that primary will have been known. And all this, INEC will have it in their report. After the end of the primaries, either it is by direct election, indirect election, or consensus, all this will be written down by the INEC and other observers. It is that the party, anyone that will win in that election, it is the name that will be said. And that's why you find out that the best, that's why it must be is that you can be reflected in the report of the INEC. So for some people to say that they did not take part in the primaries and they find their names in the INEC is, to me, very worrisome. It should not be. Primaries is what is done everywhere. Each party has the report of the election. So no political party can go against the result of the primaries. Any political party that tries that, I think the report of the INEC should be ready to assist, and in a situation such happen, the redress will be in court.
Looks like we're about to see legal fireworks in the run-up to the general elections. Time will tell. That's been you and your reps. We thank you for your company. I'm Victor Azu. See you next time.